NBC had a science fiction series on a while back. You probably remember it. It was called Star Trek.
I can't even speak. What? I got your gun.
Think you know Star Trek? Think again. Behind the warp drives, alien dialects. In groundbreaking storytelling lies a universe of hidden details that even die-hard Trekkies often miss. These aren't just Easter eggs or bloopers, they're intimate. Production secrets, behind-the-scenes heroics, and creative improvisations that shaped one of the most iconic sci-fi franchises in television history. These details reveal the enormous heart, ingenuity, and at times, chaos behind the Enterprise's journey through the stars. From reused props and overlooked continuity errors, to emotional backstories and quietly powerful moments, what follows will challenge everything you thought you knew about Star Trek. Because once you've seen these truths, once you know what to look for, you'll never watch the show the same way again. These aren't just fun facts. These are glimpses into the soul of a franchise built not on perfection, but on passion and persistence. And that's where the real magic of Star Trek lives. Let's start with one of the most touching personal stories. Buried in plain sight, James Doohan. The beloved actor who played Chief Engineer Montgomery Scotty Scott was more than a brilliant performer. He was a real-life war hero. During the D-Day invasion in World War II, Doohan was shot 6 times. One of those bullets cost him the middle finger on his right hand. You'd think such a visible injury would be impossible to hide on screen, especially in a show as physical as Star Trek, but through a remarkable mix of clever camera angles, selective hand use, and even hand doubles, the injury was almost entirely concealed throughout the series. Watch closely and you'll see how he subtly curls his fingers or uses his left hand when handling props. It wasn't just about preserving the illusion, it was about maintaining character, about protecting the viewer's immersion in a world where engineering miracles happen daily. And yet behind that illusion was a man who had already lived through one of the most dangerous missions in human history. The quiet dignity with which Doohan carried this part of his past into his performance gives Scotty's calm under pressure a whole new weight. He wasn't just playing a hero, he was one now. Star Trek broke new ground in storytelling and character development. It also operated under strict budget constraints, especially in its early years. That meant props had to be reused, recycled, and sometimes just outright repurposed household items. Take the mysterious bottles of alien liquor, like Saurian brandy, seen in multiple episodes. What looked like exotic intergalactic containers were actually 1964 George Dickel Tennessee whiskey bottles, simply adorned with minimal modifications to look futuristic. The prop department became experts at turning the mundane into the alien. Need a futuristic scanner? Use a salt shaker. Need an alien artifact? Check the nearest thrift store. This wasn't laziness. It was innovation. Limited resources forced the crew to think outside the box, and it paid off. Those same alien decanters are now prized collector's items, especially the lighter amber versions that match the on-screen color schemes. Watching Star Trek through this lens gives you a new respect for its production. These weren't just props. They're imaginative solutions crafted by a team who believed in the future. Even if their tools came from the past, of course. For all the love that flowed on set. There was also tension, especially between the show's two towering leads, William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. Behind the charisma of Captain Kirk and the cool logic of Mr. Spock was a subtle power struggle that extended even into the opening credits. Shatner's contract specified that his name appear in a larger font than Nimoy's by 25% and that placement be prioritized. Nimoy, understandably, pushed for more equitable treatment. These tensions led to years of delicate negotiations, particularly as the franchise expanded into films. Ironically, both men's contracts demanded equal treatment, which only made the situation more volatile. What fans saw on screen was a flawless command duo. What happened off-screen was more complicated, a mix of egos, contracts, and mutual respect barely held in balance. And yet, their chemistry was undeniable. The creative tension may have sparked some of the series' most electric performances. In the end, both actors deeply valued the characters they portrayed, and that shared commitment transcended their disputes. But the next time you rewatch those opening credits, take a moment to notice that font size. It's more than a typographic quirk, it's a quiet reminder of the battles fought not just among the stars, but behind the scenes. As for the Klingons, those fearsome, growling warriors of the cosmos, they didn't start out quite so intimidating. In their earliest appearance in Errant of Mercy, their armor was made not from metal, but from painted bubble wrap. Yes, the same bubble wrap we use to protect packages. Costume designer Bill Theiss saw its unique texture and realized that, when lit correctly, it could mimic the appearance of futuristic battle gear. It's the kind of low-budget genius that turned constraints into creativity. When you're working with limited materials, you either fail or innovate. Star Trek consistently chose the latter. Whether it was turning ping-pong balls into spaceship domes or layering kitchen tools into tricorders, the series was a masterclass in imaginative production. Watching Star Trek today, it's tempting to laugh at some of these visual oddities, but to do so is to miss the point. These creative workarounds weren't signs of a cheap production, they were evidence of a team that believed in what they were building so strongly, they made the impossible out of whatever they could find. But sometimes, mistakes just slip through delightfully so. In the episode Where No Man Has Gone Before, a gravestone created by the godlike Gary Mitchell mislabels Kirk as James R. Kirk instead of James T. Kirk. A glaring error. Absolutely. But instead of cutting it or fixing it in post-production or, even in later remastered versions, Gene Roddenberry leaned into it. His in-universe explanation. Mitchell, being human, simply got it wrong. That small bit of meta-humor of turning a production blunder into canon is exactly the kind of flexibility that made Star Trek special. Fans still debate this moment, not as a blooper, but as a philosophical statement. Even gods can make mistakes. And sometimes the mistake becomes part of the legend. This blending of error and intent is a perfect metaphor for Star Trek as a whole series that embraced imperfection and turned it into myth. These weren't isolated moments either. Take the starfields outside the Enterprise windows. Before CGI, these shimmering backdrops were painted black boards with tiny white dots, animated using an Oxbury optical printer. For static scenes, sheets of black paper were perforated with holes and backlit. It was simple. It was elegant. And it worked. The illusion of depth, of motion, of infinite stars passing by, it was all handmade. And in episodes where shots had to be reused or corrected, footage of the Enterprise would sometimes be flipped horizontally.
How?
That's why the ship's registry, number NCC 1701, appears backward in some scenes. It wasn't an error. It was a clever production trick. When Earth or some unwanted background element accidentally crept into the frame, they just flipped the footage to save time and money. In a world where every frame costs money, these shortcuts were survival tools. And yet, knowing these tricks doesn't ruin the magic. If anything, it deepens your appreciation for what they achieved with so little. Every flipped shot, every painted star, is a reminder that Star Trek didn't wait for the future. It built it from scratch. And then there were the subtle Easter eggs and inside jokes, the kinds you only catch after multiple viewings. Ever notice strange pipes aboard the Enterprise labeled GNDN? That wasn't some obscure sci-fi acronym. It stood for Goes Nowhere, Does Nothing. It was a prank by the set designers who added the label to dummy pipes that served no functional purpose but looked good on camera. The joke became so beloved that it carried on into later Star Trek series, where fans would actively search for GNDN tags like hidden treasures. Similarly, entire city blocks from the Andy Griffith Show were repurposed into alien planets or historical Earth backdrops. Watch closely in episodes like City on the Edge of Forever, and you might spot the same streets that Sheriff Andy Taylor once patrolled, complete with familiar shop signs like Floyd's Barber Shop. These moments aren't just clever, they're connective tissue. Little bridges between the real world and the imagined universe of Star Trek. They remind us that behind every alien world is a team of humans reusing the same streets. Props and costumes, not to cut corners, but to build something timeless. Star Trek was never about polish. It was about passion. That's why fans still love the moments where the scenes show, like in Charlie X, when a boom mic dips visibly into the frame, or during intense scenes on Delta Vega, where lighting rigs and scaffolding accidentally sneak into the shot. In the Galileo 7, you can spot painted backdrops and even flying chunks of styrofoam when a spear hits the ground. In An Errand of Mercy, during a tense scene with Spock and Klingons, you can see unpainted wood, crash mats, and even gray paint drips on unfinished set pieces. Yet somehow, these technical hiccups don't pull us out of the story, they draw us in. They remind us that Star Trek was never about flawless visuals. It was about bold ideas. It asked big questions about war, peace, identity, exploration, and what it means to be human. It did so with cardboard sets and bubble wrap armor. The imperfections didn't weaken the message, they amplified it. It reminded us that the future doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be possible. So how many of these hidden gems had you noticed before? Probably not all of them. But now that you know, the next time you watch Star Trek, you'll see more than just a sci-fi show. You'll see a labor of love. A collection of bold risks, brilliant improvisations, and behind-the-scenes heroes who believed in a better tomorrow, even if they had to paint it with leftover lumber and ping-pong balls. This is what made Star Trek endure. Not flawless production values, but fearless storytelling and a crew both on and off screen committed to going where no one had gone before. If this gave you a new lens on an old classic, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dives and drop your favorite Star Trek secret in the comments. Until next time, live long and prosper.